14 most evil corporations in sci-fi history, and how they soiled their fictional universes. Have you ever noticed that in a lot of movies, there's always a big bad corporation that the heroes have to take down? These companies are usually greedy and ruthless, and do not care about anyone but themselves. Even though it's all make-believe, it speaks to a real fear that people have about how much power and influence these huge corporations have in our world. In this video, we will dig into 14 of the most sinister megacorporations that play an overarching and omnipresent role in the fictional universes they were present in. From Umbrella Corporation and Vaught International's misuse of science to Wayland Yutani and Hydra's plans of controlling everything, there's something for everyone here. Let's get this ride started, shall we? Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Umbrella Corporation. Much like any other evil corporation in any franchise, Umbrella Corporation reflects the worst that a megacorporation can become. It prioritizes profit over ethics and engages in unethical practices that cause widespread death and destruction. Founded by classmates Dr. Oswell E. Spencer, Dr. Edward Ashford, and Dr. James Marcus, they became interested in a flower from West Africa that could give people powers through a viral mutagenic infection. They found the flower and virus on a trip to Africa, but in order to make more money, they decided to make strains of the virus to sell to US military as a weapon. And this would later be known as the T-virus, and it wasn't before long that they stopped trying to use the T-virus as a deadly weapon and instead used it to turn people into crazy cannibalistic zombies that could still move around after their hearts stopped. The corporation flourished through the 80s and the 90s, so much so that it acquired several regional companies and formed various continental subsidiaries like Umbrella US and Umbrella Europe. But Umbrella Corporation's downfall started with the close of the last millennium. The T-virus got released into Raccoon City's water supply by accident. The virus spread quickly and turned the people of the city into flesh-eating zombies. The damage was so widespread that the Raccoon City Police Department failed to handle the outbreak. Ultimately, the US government made a quarantine around the city, but the virus kept spreading. The incident led to the military coming in to try and contain the virus and rescue survivors. In the aftermath of the Raccoon City incident, the US government changed its tune about the Umbrella Corporation and imposed a suspension of the business decree on Umbrella USA, stopping them from participating in the US stock market. By 2002, both Umbrella and the US were in deep trouble. After this point, Umbrella Corporation got hit by corporate espionage, which further dwindled its hold and position. Umbrella Pharmaceuticals and Umbrella Corporation went belly up, and to make matters worse, American and Russian intelligence services hunted down Dr. Spencer. After Umbrella declared bankruptcy, their Japanese branch was one of the only remaining subsidiaries left. However, no company in Japan wanted to be associated with them, so they had to go into liquidation in March 2004. LexCorp. By laying the foundation stone of LexCorp, Lex Luthor went from being a wannabe dictator to a greedy business tycoon who used the company as a cover for his illegal activities. LexCorp started by buying struggling airlines, renaming them to LexAir, and then buying an oil company, renaming it LexOil when they faced fuel shortages. Luthor kept buying up companies, including the Daily Planet, but sold it when it became unprofitable. Over time, LexCorp grew into a huge global company with its fingers in many pies, like utilities, waste management, manufacturing, computers, chemicals, retail, biotech, weapons, finance, security, transportation, satellites, and everything else you can imagine. It wasn't before long that it employed around 2/3 of the metropolis's population of 11 million people and had a lot of power all around the world. When Lex Luthor became the president of the US, he quit being the CEO of LexCorp to avoid any conflict of interest. Talia al Ghul took over as the new CEO and even donated a big chunk of the company's profits to the Wayne Foundation, while Superman and Batman were away for a year. That was a smart move, we'd say. But when Luthor got removed as president, he kicked out Talia and took back his job as CEO. However, she secretly kept some stock in the company. Clearly, LexCorp has some tough competition from other massive corporations like Wayne Enterprises and Star Labs. As far as the live-action films are concerned, in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, LexCorp is introduced as a cutting-edge technology company that also has ties to the US government. Lex Luthor, played by Jesse Eisenberg, is the CEO of LexCorp, ECorp, and uses his influence and resources to try and to manipulate events to his advantage, including creating a conflict between Batman and Superman, and it was practically his doing that led to the creation of Doomsday. In Justice League, it is revealed that Lex Luthor has been incarcerated. Although the company's involvement in the plot is more limited in this film, it still lurks as a powerful and influential corporation in the DCEU.
We are creators. We are gods. And gods never die.
Wayland Yutani. Wayland Yutani is always up in everyone's business when it comes to space stuff, and also when it comes to putting humanity at risk. They pressure their people to grab live xenomorph specimens, even if it's dangerous, just so they can use their biology as weapons. If you have watched even one of the Alien movies, you know that Wayland Yutani claims that its goal is to keep humans in charge of the universe, and not just to make money. But that couldn't be further from the truth. But where did this mega corporation come from? Well, it's an amalgamation of two big companies, Wayland Corp from Britain and Yutani Corporation from Japan. We don't know much about Yutani except that they use Predator tech to get ahead. On the other hand, Wayland Corp was started by a guy named Peter Wayland. His mom was a fancy professor, and his dad taught himself how to be an engineer. Peter was born in India in 1990 and was a total prodigy. At age 14, he made a synthetic trachea from stem cells and got his 12th patent. In 2012, he founded Wayland Corp and named it after himself. Then, in 2015, he made $1 billion by inventing solar panels that always soak up the sun, which stopped global warming. That was a huge milestone for Peter and his company. In 2017, Wayland won the Nobel Prize for his work on the polar ice caps, and he used the money to buy some cool technology from NASA called Project Prometheus. Then in 2023, they found a cure for almost all cancer and made David their first synthetic prototype. By 2073, Peter Wayland opened Project Prometheus, which ended in his doom and the takeover by Yutani Corporation in 2099. After that, they were a big supplier of computers, starships, and synthetics, and they owned practically everything by 2150, including human colonies outside our solar system. It wouldn't really come as a surprise to you if we said that the real monsters in the Alien movies aren't the xenomorphs, but the greedy folks running Wayland Yutani Corporation. These people are so desperate to get their hands on a xenomorph that they don't care about sacrificing their own employees. Can you imagine working for a company that wants you dead just so they can finish the project on time? Terrifying, right? Hydra. Well, what do we have here? In the Marvel Universe, Hydra is depicted as a villainous secret society, an organization with authoritarian and subversive tendencies, utilizing paramilitary tactics and terrorism as a means to achieve their goal of global domination. First things first, when Hydra was first introduced in Marvel Comics back in 1965, they were just another group of bad guys for Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. to defeat, and naturally, they were easily crushed and not meant to be a big deal in the Marvel Universe. However, as Marvel started bringing back World War II era characters like Captain America and villains like the Red Skull, Hydra also returned, and the writers started using Hydra to describe the terrifying prospect of the return of the Nazis, but they did so by not loading the comics with swastikas and other fascist symbols inappropriate for comic books. Furthermore, Hydra's origin and story arc is one of the first ever retcons carried out by Marvel. But for the purpose of the video, we will focus on the MCU storyline. Hydra originated as a cult in ancient times, and took many forms before it evolved into the scientific branch of the Nazi Schutzstaffel under the leadership of Johann Schmidt, or Red Skull. They took on the name Hydra, and broke away from Nazi Germany to pursue their own global domination. Along the way, they ditched their original occult beliefs, and embraced a strict anti-freedom ideology that guides their actions to this day. After the defeat of the Nazis, Hydra was secretly rebuilt inside S.H.I.E.L.D. by Schmidt's top scientist Arnim Zola, who was recruited into the agency during Operation Paperclip, and also formed an alliance with the Soviet Union. Hydra's endgame was the overthrow of world governments to establish a fascist totalitarian global state, thus preemptively eliminating potential threats to their new world order. By the end of the 20th century, operatives of Hydra had managed to spread outside of S.H.I.E.L.D., infiltrating many important organizations, including the United States government and the World Security Council, and eventually establishing many secret bases around the world. However, Hydra's plans for world domination almost succeeded in 2014 through their agent Alexander Pierce and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Project Insight. Captain America ultimately exposed their infiltration of S.H.I.E.L.D., with Alexander Pierce being killed. Despite many setbacks and defeats, Hydra continued to exist and operate through small cells and agents.
New day for Vaught. Today's heroes, tomorrow's future.
Vaught International. Vaught International is basically a sketchy pharmaceutical company, and it's the overarching villain of Amazon Prime's The Boys. Over time, Vaught became a massive player in the US, and currently, it has almost as much power as the government itself. But, from the beginning, Vaught has had a bunch of shady secrets. Vaught International was started by Friedrich Vaught, a Nazi scientist appointed by Adolf Hitler himself. Back in 1939, he served as the chief physician at the Dachau concentration camp, where he conducted unethical experiments on human subjects to develop Compound V, which was later used to turn people into soups. Vaught's wife was the first successful superhero created after the development of Compound V. Vaught defected from Nazi Germany and was smuggled into the US, where he helped the host country to win the war. He got a presidential pardon in 1944, which allowed him to continue his research and create more soups. After Vaught died, Stan Edgar became the new CEO, and his first priority was to cover up any casualties caused by the soups. They portrayed soups as if it was natural selection, but secretly they shipped Compound V across hospitals disguised as medical supplies. The ultimate goal of Vaught International was to capitalize on soups. Vaught International had many subdivisions to handle superhero affairs in other businesses, such as entertainment, comics, and music. Although they weren't an evil organization, they did some charity work to maintain a good reputation, with the ultimate goal of world domination, at least on an economic scale. After Stan Edgar, Madeline Stillwell was one of the most influential figures within Vaught International, and held the position of Senior Vice President of Hero Management. In addition to this, she was responsible for ensuring the profitability of the company, and approached her duties with determination and efficiency. But let's not forget she was no saint. Having said that, she remains one of our personal favorites as far as female villains are concerned. Cyberdyne Systems Corporation. Introduced in the Terminator franchise, Cyberdyne Systems is a tech giant based out of California and is famous, or rather notorious, for developing advanced electronics and computing technologies. One of their innovations, the Skynet Digital Defense Network, was utilized by the US military. Skynet is an artificial intelligence system that was activated in 1997, but it became sentient, and all hell broke loose when it identified the entire human race as a threat to its existence. This ultimately led to the catastrophic event known as Judgment Day. The second film in the Terminator franchise, T2 Judgment Day, reveals that the Series 800 Terminator that was sent to kill Sarah Connor was not entirely destroyed when it got crushed inside a Cyberdyne facility. The company found a metal hand and forearm from its endoskeleton, along with its broken CPU, which were used for research leading to the founding of Cyberdyne Systems. Miles Dyson, the director of special projects at Cyberdyne Systems, used breakthrough work in neural net technology based on the Terminator CPU to put Skynet on track for activation in 1997. In the film, Sarah and John Connor, along with the Terminator protecting them, confront Dyson and reveal the future events that they must prevent. Cyberdyne Systems becomes the largest supplier of the military computers in 1996, and the US government funds the building of Skynet to run the country's nuclear defense systems. In 1997, Skynet became self-aware and starts a nuclear war with the intent of wiping off humanity. Essex Corp. Another Marvel corporation, Essex Corp, is the organization behind Essex House for Mutant Rehabilitation, a foster home for mutant children. But the staff there are really messed up, and they abuse and experiment on the kids, including Russell Collins, who has the power to create flames, and he's been through hell. The poor kid eventually loses his cool, and unleashes his pyrokinetic wrath on the foster home, and draws the attention of the police and the X-Men. Deadpool intervenes, and subdues Russell, but upon discovering the extent of the abuse, he retaliates by attempting to kill a staff member and the headmaster. Deadpool is stopped by Colossus and arrested. Later, Russell and the Juggernaut return to Essex House with the intent of burning it down and killing the headmaster. Deadpool, Cable, and Domino arrive to prevent this from happening. As they fight their way through the corrupt staff, they discover that Domino, one of Deadpool's latest recruits, was also a victim of the abuse at Essex House. Ultimately, Deadpool persuades Russell not to kill the headmaster, thereby altering the future and preventing the death of Cable's family. But in the end, Essex House ends up getting destroyed. Essex Corp was named after Nathaniel Essex, who is better known as the supervillain Mr. Sinister. The post-credits scene of X-Men Apocalypse is connected to the events of Logan. In Logan, it was revealed that Alkali Transigen used Wolverine's DNA to create the mutant Laura. It is strongly suggested that the blood sample collected by Essex Corp in the post-credit scene of X-Men Apocalypse was used to create Laura. Tyrell Corporation. Tyrell Corporation was featured in the Blade Runner franchise as a multinational corporation headquartered in Los Angeles, California by the year 2019. The company was one of the largest manufacturers of replicants, which are basically artificial humans designed for use in off-world colonies. Dr. Eldon Tyrell, the founder and CEO of Tyrell Corporation, was a brilliant scientist who created a line of replicants called Nexus. These replicants are designed to be indistinguishable from humans, but of course, they possess superior physical and cognitive abilities. In the first Blade Runner film, the protagonist, Rick Deckard, is a retired Blade Runner who is brought back into service to track down and retire, or rather to kill, a group of replicants who have escaped from an off-world colony and returned to Earth. The replicants are led by Roy Batty, an advanced Nexus 6 replicant created by Tyrell Corporation. Clearly, there was a flaw with the design of the replicants, as they have not developed emotions and a desire for a longer lifespan. Batty confronts Tyrell in his office and demands that he extend his lifespan, but Tyrell refuses. Angry, Batty kills Tyrell, after which the company is headed by Lilith. Meanwhile, humans started voicing their hatred towards the Tyrell Corporation and the replicants, and this soon took the form of an underground freedom movement of sorts. However, an unfortunate and citywide blackout called for the official prohibition of the replicants, and it led to the company's downfall. In 2028, the remaining assets of Tyrell Corporation were acquired by the Wallace Corporation, which resumed the production of replicants. As of October 2032, the headquarters had been reconstructed. Omni Consumer Products, aka OCP. Omni Consumer Products was the big bad conglomerate featured in the RoboCop franchise. Founded in the Detroit metropolitan area, the company began as a consumer goods manufacturer before branching out into a wide range of industries, including weapons manufacturing, robotics, and urban development. They were literally called Omni Consumer Products, and they served the needs of governments and people alike. As the corporation grew in size and influence, OCP became a major player in the Detroit metropolitan area. Soon, it wanted to create a city that would be controlled solely by the corporation, so it was decided that the city of Detroit should be demolished, and it should be turned into a new city called Delta City. The company went to great lengths to achieve this, and didn't care about shedding blood. OCP paved the way for an increase in crime, and in response to rising crime rates, the company launched new technologies, including robotics and advanced weaponry. OCP's most well-known creation was RoboCop, a cyborg police officer designed to combat crime in the city. But the creation of RoboCop himself was a tragic and organized event. Following years of controversy and scandal, Omni Consumer Products was eventually bought out by a Japanese company called the Kanemitsu Corporation. As a subsidiary of Kanemitsu, OCP retained its position as the driving force behind the destruction of old Detroit and the construction of Delta City. However, OCP's brutal policies regarding Delta City soon came to light, with reports of human rights violations and mass displacement of the city's residents. These revelations caused many of OCP's majority shareholders to sell their stock, resulting in a significant loss of revenue for the corporation. Despite attempts to salvage the situation, OCP was unable to recover from the financial hit, leading to its eventual downfall. In a dramatic turn of events, Mr. Kanemitsu himself, through an interpreter, personally fired the chief executive officer of OCP from the company, effectively bringing an end to the once powerful corporation. World in Catastrophe, Killzone Experiment Department, aka Wicked. According to the Maze Runner universe, Earth experienced significant solar flares that caused severe damage to the region between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, turning it into a barren area known as the Scorch. This catastrophic incident resulted in the destruction of human civilization and caused long-lasting effects on Earth's climate and environment. After the solar flares took place, a survey was conducted by the Post-Flares Coalition for 6 months. The survey revealed that only 70% of the remaining population had adequate resources for survival. In order to prevent the possibility of war and civil unrest, the coalition searched for a population control strategy that could reduce the number of people efficiently and humanely. So, the flare virus was created and released in public, but instead of killing the victims painlessly, the flare turned them into cannibalistic savages. The virus went global and hit the safe zones, infecting most people at an alarming rate. Quarantining the infection became impossible for the coalition to manage, and that's when Wicked was formed to find a cure cure. Wicked decided to experiment with around 100 teenagers, some who were immune to the virus and some who were not. They put them through various trials like the Maze and the Scorch, which were designed to stimulate the Killzone to record patterns. The goal was to figure out why the immune subjects' brains could fight off the flare virus and hopefully find a cure. The teenagers were used as mere objects to achieve a particular end, and their agency and autonomy were not respected. Additionally, the trials themselves were designed to be physically and emotionally traumatizing, and clearly Wicked did not care about violating their rights and dignity. But then again, these guys were conducting deadly human experiments, so the question of rights becomes trivial.
Welcome. State your credentials for succeeding Senior Scarra.
Specter, Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge, and Extortion, or Specter, appears in the James Bond novels by Ian Fleming and the James Bond films and movies that came later. The group was once led by a criminal mastermind Ernst Stavro Blofeld, and first appeared formally in the 1961 novel Thunderball and in the film Dr. No, which was released the following year. Although the James Bond films and novel try to remain apolitical, Fleming did include Gestapo members as a part of Specter, so that's that. It all started with some criminals, but in the movies, they're a huge international operation with their own fancy training base on Specter Island. As far as the novels are concerned, at the helm of Specter was a group of 21 members led by Blofeld. Largo was elected as the second in command, while Codes, a physicist, and Maslov, an electronics expert, were included for their technical expertise. Interestingly, members were known by numbers rather than names. However, failure was not an option for members of Specter. Those who failed in their missions were dealt with harshly, and often in gruesome ways. Blofeld himself was known to execute members who failed him, such as electrocuting one member in his chair for sexually assaulting a kidnapped girl. He had previously strangled another member to death with a garrote and shot a third member through the heart with a compressed air pistol. Specter plays a prominent role in Eon Productions' James Bond series and is soon dismantled, but the rebooted continuity gives it an increasingly important role. The Daniel Craig series of Bond films feature the return of the infamous organization, albeit in a rebooted universe from the earlier movies. The 2015 film Specter simply refers to the committee by its name and sees Bond sent on a posthumous mission by Judi Dench's M to assassinate Marco Sciarra. As Bond unravels the mystery behind Sciarra's mission, he discovers that Specter and its leader, Ernst Stavro Blofeld, have been manipulating the previous Craig villains. In a surprising turn, the Quantum organization from Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace is revealed to be a subsidiary of Specter, while Raul Silva from Skyfall is shown to be affiliated with the organization as well. Furthermore, the Chiffre, Mr. White, and Dominic Green are all revealed to have direct connections to Specter. Now that Daniel Craig has retired as 007, it will be interesting to see what happens to Specter because, in No Time to Die, all the major members of Specter seem to have been killed. Oscorp Industries. Anyone who has even a passing knowledge about the Spider-Man universe knows what exactly a menace Oscorp Industries is. Founded by Norman Osborn, the company essentially tries to make Spider-Man's life hell, but other than that, it plays a major role in the development of technology and science in the Marvel Comics world. In the comics, Oscorp is responsible for creating some of Spider-Man's most formidable foes, including the Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and the Lizard. Usually, the company's experiments on animal and human subjects go awry, which leads to the creation of monstrous and dangerous creatures that Spider-Man tries to defeat or contain. Osborn, who is also the villainous Green Goblin, initially established the company to create a military technology, but it eventually expanded into other areas such as genetics and robotics. Known for its cutting-edge research and development, Oscorp has numerous laboratories and facilities. Despite its achievements, Oscorp's connection to Norman Osborn's villainous alter ego has made it a target for superheroes who seek to bring the company to justice and prevent its unethical practices from continuing. Created by writer Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, Oscorp Industries first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man #1 in 1963, and since then, it has taken Spider-Man's world by storm. But personally, we feel that Oscorp and its founder would not have made such a lasting impression if it had not been for the marvelously talented Willem Dafoe.
It's fantastic.
InGen. InGen, also known as International Genetics Incorporated. International Genetic Technologies is the bioengineering company that John Hammond and Benjamin Lockwood co-founded to bring back the beasts of the Jurassic era. In 1986, John Parker Hammond and Benjamin Lockwood made their dream of cloning dinosaurs from preserved DNA in fossilized amber a reality through a research group led by Dr. Wu. They succeeded in cloning a prehistoric animal. After successfully cloning several species of dinosaurs, John Hammond envisioned creating a place where the public could witness these incredible creatures. In the 1980s, he began constructing an amphitheater in San Diego, but eventually abandoned the idea and decided to build something much grander, so they constructed the colossal Jurassic Park on Isla Nublar, an island situated 120 miles off Costa Rica, in 1988. By 1993, the park was almost complete. However, one of InGen's competitors, believed to be Biosyn, interfered with the park's systems, resulting in a catastrophic shutdown and the escape of the dinosaurs. As a result, investors lost faith in the project, and Jurassic Park was never open to the public. The event put InGen in grave financial difficulties, and John Hammond had transformed from a visionary businessman to an environmentalist who opposed all plans of reconstructing Jurassic Park. By 1997, the nephew of John Hammond, Peter Ludlow, took the reins of InGen and expressed his will to do what Hammond did. Peter Ludlow tried to make some cash by making a smaller dino theater in San Diego, but his plan to catch dinos on Isla Sorna got messed up by Hammond's team, which caused a dino breakout in San Diego. Sadly, Ludlow didn't make it out alive. Later, Simon Masserani took over InGen through his Masserani Global Corporation. InGen's research boss, Henry Wu, got a promotion in 2000, and they moved their HQ to San Diego. Played by later Bollywood actor, Masserani was essentially a good guy, but that didn't save him from a horrific end. ECorp. ECorp appeared as a multinational conglomerate corporation in the US in the TV series Mr. Robot. A dominant player in several industries, ECorp leads sectors such as finance, energy, telecommunications, and entertainment. Under the leadership of Lester Moore, ECorp became the largest employer in the world by 1990, and its subsidiary, eBank, became the world's largest consumer bank in 1992. However, ECorp was involved in a toxic gas leak in the Washington Township power plant in 1992, which resulted in several workers getting leukemia. This incident was caused by the decision of high-ranking executives not to upgrade the facility due to cost concerns. The parents of 3 future members of the hacking group F Society were among those affected by the incident. After Lester Moore's death in a plane crash in 1995, Philip Price became the CEO of ECorp. He later discovered that the crash was arranged by White Rose and the Dark Army for their known interest in the Washington Township power plant. In 2015, ECorp was breached by the hackers of F Society and the Dark Army in a series of hacks known as the 5-9 hacks. This led to ECorp's debt and most of their money being encrypted, causing numerous other misfortunes for the company. Several high-ranking executives were arrested, and the Dark Army also bombed 71 ECorp facilities across America, resulting in the deaths of thousands of employees. However, ECorp eventually received the decryption key from an unknown benefactor, Elliot Alderson, which allowed them to restore their company back to pre-5-9 hacks. Throughout the series, ECorp represents a symbol of corporate power, greed, and corruption, and is a primary antagonist to the main character, Elliot Alderson, and his associates in F Society. To sum it up, evil megacorporations have a big role in movies because they show our fear of how powerful and influential these huge companies can be. They're usually portrayed as bad guys who don't care about ethics or as a force that controls everything in a dystopian world. These movies remind us of the real-life issues of corporate greed and the need for businesses to be ethical. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.